Hey everyone, this is Taye Del Val, your Grown Geek Girl. Well, last night I saw Ghostbusters with my best friend. I have not had that much fun at a movie since Deadpool, and Deadpool came out in February. And I've seen quite a few movies since then. It was fun from beginning to end. Let me say this, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be one of those people that's very, very defensive of this movie. When I heard it was being remade and I heard it was gonna be an all-female cast, I too was one of those people like, ugh, okay, another remake, another reboot, only it's girls this time. Okay, it may be interesting, but is it gonna be the same story? Like, are they gonna modernize it? Are they gonna try to do the really nostalgic thing and set it in the 80s? So many questions. It could have gone completely wrong. And I know there are people out there who think that they did go completely wrong with it. I don't care. Okay? I had so much fun. It was set in the now. It was very high tech. It was just so much fun. It was so enjoyable to sit down and watch. And yes, there are cameos from nearly every single cast member from the first two Ghostbuster movies. Even Harold Ramis, rest in peace. You know, the way that they worked him in there was perfection. I loved, those moments where it's like, oh, there's Bill Murray. Oh my God, there's Dan Aykroyd. Sigourney Weaver in the house. Like, it was everything to me. And I really wish that people had been more open-minded and given it more of a chance instead of jumping to conclusions and saying, oh my God, this is gonna rape my childhood. No, it didn't. It didn't go back and completely shit on the first movie or the second one. I mean, even Dan Aykroyd came out and said, listen, this is funnier than what we had. Because if you knew, and you probably didn't if you're my age, I didn't know until this movie went into production. When the first Ghostbusters movie started filming, they didn't even have a script. Okay, and yes, that's a testament to the comedic genius of Bill Murray, Ivan Reitman, Harold Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd, that they can make this funny movie that is a classic and that is held so dear to so many people. But just the amount of sexism, the sexist comments, the racist comments, and I'll talk about that in a second, and just the hate that happened before the movie even came out, like just the trailers. I remember having discussions about just the trailer. I wasn't excited by the first trailer. The second trailer was what made me sit back and go, okay, I am here for it. I'm ready to be in that theater with my popcorn and my Coke or Pepsi, whichever beverage giant sponsors your theater. But I was all the way here for it. From beginning to end, there wasn't a point where I felt it dragged. There was suspense. There was, moments where I jumped, and I'm actually not that jittery of a person. I don't feel that there was ever a lull in the comedy. There were parts, I might actually go see it again, because there were parts where I was laughing and parts where everybody else was laughing, and I missed what else came next because we were laughing. I actually felt that Melissa McCarthy, I've seen almost everything she's done, and I actually was saying to somebody at work today, I was like, I felt like she was a little more subdued, and that was probably correct for the character, and it worked well for her. God, just everybody was I don't want to say perfect, but the roles suited them. The characters were very vivid, weren't dull. I was a fan of Holtzman. Oh my goodness. Let me talk about Leslie Jones. I've been a fan of Leslie Jones since she went on Weekend Update and made that speech of you're never too old to go after your dreams. And from then on, I started really paying attention to her, doing my research on her, and following her. She is funny as hell. She was the right person to be in this movie with all of these other comedians, all right? And she even said it, she's like, you can hate the movie, but to go and attack her on Twitter, on her social media, what is wrong with you people? Like, that's one of the problems with I won't even say social media, but just fandom today. You have people who are, like I said, railing against this movie being made, but like, leave my childhood alone. How about you? Listen, nobody's gonna sit here and make you go see this movie. I will say what Kevin Smith said. I listened to his review, and I do respect Kevin Smith's opinion. He said, if you went into this, if you hated the idea of this movie, if you went in hating it, you would probably sit there and pick out everything. You would find stuff to hate just because that's just who you are. I went into it with very little expectation. I compartmentalized. I put, I'm 34. I'm a child of the 80s. I remember the first movie. I went to see the second Ghostbusters in the theater with my brother. I hold those movies very dearly, and I do wish that they had made a third one. But the simple fact that, and they were probably paid, but the simple fact that almost all of the cast members, those that are still breathing, agreed to show support and do cameos in this film speaks volumes. And not only that, Dan Aykroyd was an executive producer. He was behind this. So if something he helped bring to life back in the 80s, if he's not over here like, this is a bad idea. Again, not everything is for everybody, but if you are at all curious, go see this movie. If you just want to have fun at the movies, just go see it. Okay? Is it the most riveting? Is it Oscar worthy? Nobody is going to this movie expecting this to win award. Maybe it might win a Kids' Choice Award. It might win, a People's Choice Award. Something that the general audience votes on. But nobody is expecting high drama from Ghostbusters. If these movies are meant to be fun, and I wish that people could just sit back and have fun with movies instead of sitting there and analyzing. You're not being paid. I'm doing this for fun. And I love, I'm like most of y'all. I love sharing my views on movies in a respectful way. But there's some people just venomous for no reason. Go see it and make a decision. I understand, paper is tight. You don't want to just throw your money away and be like, well, that was, 90 minutes, 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. I understand that. But, like I said before, if you're all curious, just go see it. It's not a horrible movie. I loved Chris Hemsworth. I want him to do more comedies. Oh my God. It's not just that they totally played up the pretty, they made him the dumb blonde. They used that body. I'll tell you that. They used his body, and it was nice to hear him speak with his natural Australian accent. I like most women, I'm a sucker for accents, but I loved seeing this different side of him. And he, like most of the actors, you could tell that they went to set, and even though they knew they had work to do, they were having the time of their lives, especially Chris. You could see it in his face. He was just having so much fun because this is so different from him. Look at the movies that he's done. He's done, Thor and the Avengers. He did Black Hat, and, he's been doing all of these serious movies. And even though there's, the Marvel movies are a little bit lighter, this was straight comedy and, slapstick, and he was landing those jokes, and it didn't feel awkward to watch him in that capacity. I was a fan. If I wasn't a fan before, I would definitely be a fan of Chris Hemsworth right now. So big ups to you, Chris. Leslie was on her game. I really feel that everybody brought their A game to this movie, and and they deserve all the snaps from me, you know. And I'll echo a sentiment. This movie is not for those of us who were around when the first two movies happened, okay? This is for a new generation. Yes, they respected us. They respected the ones. They paid the homage to those of us who went to see these movies when we were younger and have these movies on DVD or watch them on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. But I think back to the image of the little girls at the premiere, looking up at Kristen Wiig, looking up at Melissa McCarthy, shaking hands with Leslie Jones, and God forgive me, I don't remember the actress's name that played Holtzman. She was my favorite. The reverence, like, this movie was for them. You know, this movie was for them. This movie was for those little girls who need to be reminded that they can be badass, that it's okay to be smart, that it's okay to love science. And I think that's why this movie was made. This movie, because there's this huge campaign to get young girls interested in math and in science. And I'm not saying this movie would do that, but if you can present it in this way, if you take your young girls to see this, and there's really no vulgarity in the movie. There's slight language, but nothing that would really turn a parent off. If by a young girl going to see this movie decides to take a few extra science classes, is there anything wrong with that? You know, we are all inspired by different things. You know, I wanted to become a performer from just watching Michael Jackson dance. Some young girl, you know, some little boys are influenced because their favorite family member is a lawyer or you know, an artist or whatever. There may be some little girls that go to see this movie who have an interest in science and feel validated because of this. This movie is for them. This movie did not ruin Ghostbusters. Fans who refuse to evolve, fans that refuse to give anything that doesn't fit into their little box a chance, the rabid fanboys have the potential, I will say that, they will have the potential to ruin Ghostbusters for someone. If you love Ghostbusters 1 and 2, love it. That was for you. This movie is for a new generation. And that's where I'm going to end it. I recommend it. If you're at all curious about this movie, please go see it. Alright? Love you guys. Grown Geek Girl, out.